And I corrected myself as a failing.
Failing. That's what I was going to ask. So you still have hope.
I think, yeah, I have hope. But the notion that in 2026, my children have less civil rights than I had.
A bunch of privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. Maybe the problem is that lots of people today are entitled whiners who have no perspective and no idea how good they have it.
When Sunny Hostin referred to America as a failed experiment in a recent interview, Bill Maher immediately took notice. Why did he react so aggressively, given that Hostin and Maher are often seen as being on the same political side? What specifically did Sunny Hostin say to provoke this kind of reaction? We've prepared every clip for you, so click the subscribe button and let's get started.
Called America a failed experiment when you were on Friday.
Well, and I corrected myself as a failing.
Failing. That's what I was going to ask. So you still have hope.
I think, yeah, I have hope. But the notion that in 2026, my children have less civil rights than I had.
That's horrible and terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
And so any scientific experiment that you would take, because I've discussed this with my husband, because apparently he heard some of the blowback when I said it's a failing experiment. If an experiment is working, there aren't, this type of thing doesn't happen. There are leaps forward, not backward.
You personally heard it. Sunny Hostin said that her children had less civil rights than she did as a youngster and declared that America is a failed experiment. But Maher poses a straightforward query. What particular rights is she referring to? According to Maher, African Americans now have a lot more options. He feels that improvements in areas like education, money, and representation have been significant when compared to previous generations, even if the 1970s and 1980s presented both significant problems and advancements. Maher disputes the notion that Hostin's children are worse fortunate in those areas as a result. Additionally, he contends that remarks such as hers overemphasize America's shortcomings while ignoring its achievement.
Possible for a country to lose itself so much that leaving it is justified? Yes, but we're not there yet, not by a long shot, and we don't need quitters. We need people who will stay and fix it. Maybe the problem isn't that America isn't worth defending. Maybe the problem is that lots of people today are entitled whiners who have no perspective and no idea how good they have it.
Maher contends that some people still exclusively think on what is wrong, despite the fact that many people now have lives that are far better than those of earlier generations. According to him, the differences between life now and life 2 or 3 generations ago are substantial rather than insignificant. More comfort, in his opinion, has sometimes resulted in more complaints rather than more gratitude. Maher also notes that many Americans have access to opportunities, rights, healthcare, and technology that are still unattainable for individuals in many other areas of the globe. As a result, he contends that characterizing America as a failed experiment ignores its advancements. When Maher displays his irritation, he is making this point.
59% of self-identified liberals say there have been times when they considered leaving America for good, like after NBC canceled The West Wing. I don't get it. You want so badly for every immigrant to come to this country and experience the good life, but somehow it's so terrible you want to leave?
Maher claims that certain progressive leaders and Hollywood stars have declared their intention to leave the United States because they feel the nation is failing. However, he also notes that many of those same voices are still in favor of immigration, urging people to come here from all over the globe. That, in his opinion, leads to a clear contradiction. Maher examines how America can be portrayed as a place of opportunity worth relocating to while also being said to be beyond repair. He contends that this kind of criticism is often motivated more by politics than by an impartial evaluation of the nation. Maher claims that much of the argument loses its impact and becomes more about message than principle once the political language is ignored.
Because just like we did here tonight, you have to talk to each other and you have to hear the other side. And I speak to a different group. I don't want anybody who's ideologically captured. I speak to the normies. I speak to the people who don't want there to be hate anymore in America. That's, if there's any theme of this, is that I am tired of the hate. I don't want to hate half the country.
Maher contends that certain left-leaning voices have become more antagonistic toward the nation. He believes that many individuals no longer seem to be interested in interacting with others who just have different political beliefs. They often decide to ignore those they disagree with rather than engage in open dialogue or debate. Maher argues that treating disagreement as a moral failing harms everyone, regardless of political affiliation. He believes people should exchange ideas and genuinely listen before judging one another, adding that the decline of open dialogue reflects the state of today's political discourse.
Just like there's a long list of liberal celebrities who swear they'll go if a Republican is elected, and no one ever does. Miley Cyrus once said, "I am moving if Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." Here she is looking miserable, having to endure America at the Grammys last Sunday. I guess she flew back from Tajikistan.
Maher contends that a large portion of the animosity aimed at America is often connected more to the individuals in charge of the government than to the nation itself. He thinks that as political leadership changes, the failed experiment terminology tends to become less prevalent, which reveals a lot about the true target of most of the discontent. Additionally, he draws attention to the fact that many of the same individuals who criticize America go on to have comfortable lives and prosperous jobs inside the same system they claim has failed. Maher contends that America is still among the greatest locations in the world to live in spite of its shortcomings. He points out that while some people discuss leaving, relatively few really do.
They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden. They wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become, a Portlandia sketch. A bunch of privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok.
Maher expresses his opinions clearly. He contends that despite being very successful public people, Hostin and others like her have forgotten how many possibilities they have had. He believes that they characterize themselves as victims of a nation that has also bestowed upon them occupations, riches, and power that the majority of Americans could only dream of. Maher also challenges assertions that Kamala Harris's defeat by Trump was just evidence of pervasive gender prejudice. He contends that rather than basing their choices only on gender, voters take into account a variety of issues such as the economy and policy. What irritates him the most, in his opinion, is that limiting the election to a single explanation misses the larger factors that contributed to the result.
And sexism? Hillary got 3 million more votes than Trump, which in a normal country would be called a victory. It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here, and they actually see women and people of color, and it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism and sexism? Of course. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives.
Maher also notes that many people in Sunny Hostin's own neighborhood do not share her viewpoint. He contends that many people still reject the notion that America is a failed experiment, despite studies showing genuine anxiety about the nation's trajectory. Maher attributes a large portion of the Democratic Party's recent electoral defeats. He feels that by concentrating too much on concepts that appeal to the extreme left, while ignoring the concerns of many regular voters, the party has run its campaign as if it were detached from the people it purports to serve. According to Maher, the GOP has had difficulty comprehending why so many middle-class and working-class voters have abstained rather than the fact that America has failed.
The votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Maher strives to be as straightforward as possible in his argument. He contends that the majority of people do not want to engage in a cultural conflict. They want secure employment, a robust economy, financial stability, and the opportunity to create a better future for their children and themselves. Maher argues that Democrats have focused too much on ideas popular in media and academic circles while overlooking the everyday concerns of working families. He also believes most Americans want to improve the country rather than give up on it, and that this better reflects public sentiment than political rhetoric.
Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but fuck your feelings. Look at this chart. Yes, there's a lot to not like already about the new regime, but maybe take 1 week to ask what you did wrong. The basis for Democratic campaigns has become, we're the smart people. That we know from the get-go. No need to look into that. We know that a priori, which is a Latin phrase the Red Hat people wouldn't have a clue about.
Maher contends that there is a deeper difference at the heart of the argument. While some consider America to be essentially flawed, others think it is a flawed nation with room for improvement. He feels that criticism that ignores the nation's advancements is the true problem, not only politics. Regardless of their origin, Maher contends that the majority of Americans want opportunity, security, and a fair shot at success. He feels that although remarks like Hostin's could get attention, many common people's worries are not reflected in them. He believes that the people is not always best represented by those with the loudest voices. That concludes our video for today. For more stuff, please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you liked it. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you in the future one.